morning and welcome to yet another freezing cold group ride on a Sunday morning in Essex. And today I'm going to be answering some of those little questions that you might have if you're thinking about getting into cycling that you might just not want to ask. So the first question is actually a bonus question that I didn't have on my list. So the first question is, will I fall off? And the answer is hopefully not, but accidents obviously do happen. And testament to that is my good friend Chris, who thankfully, after having a nasty fall 2 weeks ago, is back with us.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, that was my fourth fall in 12 months, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about falling off. And also, for those fans of Pete's channel, we're always looking out for my luminous yellow helmet. It's now a white one.
So yes, thankfully Chris is fine and he's back with us. Well, I say fine, he was always a bit odd, but you know, he's a mate, so you got to put up with him. But proper question number one, how much should I spend on a bike? Now this is obviously a fairly difficult question to answer because it really all depends on your budget. However, if you're asking this question, then I'm going to assume that just like me, you don't have dentist's money to allocate to a new bike purchase. So taking a more budget conscious approach to this, if you're looking to buy brand new, you're probably looking at about 350 to 500 pounds for a half decent entry level bike. So at that price, you're looking at something like the Triban RC 120 from Decathlon, or maybe the Brand X road bike from Wiggle or Chain Reaction Cycles. If, on the other hand, you're looking to buy second hand, then you want to be spending about 150 to 300 pounds. Now don't get me wrong, there are some incredible deals to be had out there, especially on places like Facebook Marketplace. Every so often on Facebook Marketplace, there'll be someone just getting rid of a bike, they don't ride it anymore, it's taking up space, and they just want to get rid of it as soon as possible, and they'll let it go for a ridiculously cheap price. So those deals are out there to be had, but just bear in mind the old adage, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And so if you find that a bike is too cheap, chances are it's probably nicked. So if you are buying second hand, then as the Romans would say, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Also, regardless of whether you're buying new or second hand, but especially with new bikes, the old engineering phrase of you can have good, light and cheap, but you can only pick two is never truer. You can get a good light bike, but it won't be cheap. You can get a light cheap bike, but it won't be good. And you can get a cheap good bike, but it won't be light. But so long as you have that in mind and you're aware of that, you won't go far wrong. Do I have to wear those shoes that attach to the pedal? No, but if you do, you'll feel like you have much more control over the bike once you get used to them. As well as that, they're also very helpful for hard, sustained efforts. For instance, when you're going uphill, because you're attached to the pedal, you can use the backstroke as your leg is coming up to pull up on the pedal to give you some free power. If you've never worn clipless pedals before though, and that's what they're called bizarrely, clipless, despite the fact that you clip into them, and I explain why in a video that I'll link here somewhere. But if you've never worn clipless pedals before, then I suggest putting your bike next to a wall, holding onto the wall and practicing clipping in and out before you go out on the road to do it for real. And remember that being attached to the bike is not more likely to make you fall off while you're moving. In fact, it's much more likely that you'll fall off when you come to a stop at a set of traffic lights and you forget to unclip. So yeah, practice next to a wall first. Do I need to wear those Lycra shorts with the padding? Well, no, but yes. And it really all depends on what you're going to be doing on your bike. If you're just going to be doing a couple of miles to and from your local shops, then you could probably get away with just wearing your normal clothes. However, if you're doing more than about half an hour on the bike, then I would definitely recommend getting some good padded shorts. Not only will that help you stay more comfortable in the saddle for longer, but it will also stop you getting saddle sores from your cotton underwear. And that leads me nicely onto my next question. Should I wear underwear under my cycling shorts? Absolutely not. Now, I discussed this one at length in a video last year, and I had quite the heated debate with Jimmy about why he shouldn't be wearing underwear under his bib shorts. Now, there's no other way of saying this, but I eventually coaxed Jimmy out of his underwear, and now he goes fully commando, as you should. And the reason for that is because the chamois in the shorts, which is the soft padded bit, is designed to be worn directly against the skin. It's soft, it's comfortable, but more than that, it's also antimicrobial, which means that because you sweat excessively in that area when on the bike, it will wick that away and stop you getting any infections, which is not pleasant. So take the underwear off, go commando. What do I need to take with me on a bike ride? This one is an easy and quick one. A drink, a snack, a puncture repair kit, a mini pump, an inner tube or two, some tie levers, and a decent multi-tool, as well as a little bit of cash or a credit card for any emergencies that might pop up. Simple. Do I need to eat on the bike? Yes, but only really if you're riding for more than about 90 minutes. And if that is the case, then you want to make sure that you have some kind of carb-filled snack every 45 minutes or so. That will keep you topped up with energy to make sure you avoid hitting the wall, or bonking, as it's known in the cycling world. So that could be a banana, a flapjack, or my buddy Jimmy swears by a bagel, squashed down, wrapped in tin foil, and kept in your back jersey pocket. And also, although we're talking about eating on the go, don't forget that cycling is synonymous with cafe stops. So there's nothing wrong with doing a few miles, stopping at your favourite local cafe and having a nice cup of tea and a slice of cake. And while we're talking about sustenance, don't forget to drink as well. You lose a lot more sweat than you imagine when you're cycling, and it doesn't feel like it because usually the wind is wicking it away. So a bottle, or a bidon as they're known, of juice with a pinch of salt in it will help not only to keep the thirst at bay, but also replace those salts that you sweat out as you're riding. And that will help you avoid the dreaded cramps. And talking of stopping for food, I think it's time for breakfast. There we go, beautiful breakfast. Plenty of carbs, plenty of energy. Now back on with the ride. And back on with the next question. Do I need to wear a helmet? Legally, no. But would I recommend one? Absolutely. Now, there is a huge debate about this online, and whoever you ask, you'll end up getting a different opinion, because there is research to suggest that wearing a helmet doesn't actually give you as much protection as you might imagine. However, for me personally now, I just couldn't imagine not wearing one. And I liken it to getting into a car and not wearing a seatbelt. It just doesn't feel right. So it's purely a personal preference for you, but as I say, I would highly recommend it. And if you saw my video from 2 weeks ago where my buddy Chris came off when his bike hit a pothole, I think his injuries would have been a lot worse than they were had he not been wearing a helmet. So as the other old phrase goes, you pays your money, you takes your choice. Oh boy, it suddenly got very, very windy. But the next question, am I too old to start cycling? Never. There's a quote that I really like, which is, the best time to have started cycling was years ago. The second best time to start cycling is today. As such, there's no right or wrong time to start cycling. In fact, when Jimmy and I did the Dunwich Dynamo a couple of years ago, which is an overnight 112-mile bike ride, we met and started chatting to a guy who was in his 70s, doing it with his friend who was in his 80s. 112 miles overnight. Cycling is a low impact sport that puts absolutely no pressure on your joints whatsoever. So you can get out there at any age and enjoy the great outdoors. Well, we've just come to a quick stop because we've seen a massive herd of deer. So there's another thing about cycling. It's a great way to see some local wildlife. Beautiful. Next question. I'm scared to ride on the road. What can I do? Now, I can fully understand this because riding on the roads can be quite daunting, especially for a new rider. So if you're not confident enough to ride with traffic, then I would highly recommend checking out the Sustrans website, which I'll link in the video description below. But that lists the entire national cycle network throughout the UK. And on there are lots of off-road tracks and trails that you can take, even on a road bike, to keep you away from the traffic and away from any potential danger. So you can still ride your bike without the worry of getting close passed by a car. And finally, do I need to spend loads of money on kit? Absolutely not. In fact, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I am a huge fan of budget cycling gear. So I can absolutely guarantee you that you don't need to spend loads of your hard-earned cash on kit and accessories, especially not when you're just starting out. In fact, I posted a video a while ago where I ranked all of my bib shorts from cheapest to most expensive on their quality. So go and watch that, because I think you'll be surprised with the outcome. So there you go. There's 10 beginner cyclist questions that you might have been a bit too embarrassed to ask another cyclist. But that list is by no means exhaustive, so if you have any other questions, or if you had any questions when you first started cycling, then drop them in the comments below. And if I get enough, I'll do a follow-up video. And you never know, if you have been riding for a while and you've learned a thing or two, then you could help a new cyclist on their cycling journey. But I hope you found that useful and informative, and as ever, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.